Want to improve your marriage? Be more appreciative and express it more. There are plenty of husbands who appreciate everything their wife does. They just never say it. Marriage is a dynamic process, which means it is a continuously renewing, regenerating uh, reality. It's not like you got married X number of years ago, there was a wedding, and you became married, and since then you've been married. No, it's an ongoing thing. You're constantly getting married. One of the reasons is because you were born single. You were not born married. So when you get married, you're creating a new reality. That new reality has to recreate itself constantly because the natural default position is that you're not married. So anytime we create a new process or a new reality, that process has to renew itself constantly. It is not a static condition. So every moment of every day of your marriage, you are being married. You're getting married. It therefore makes sense that you should celebrate the process every day. Yeah, some people have, what is it called, renewal, commitment renewal, or marriage renewal, sometimes in their middle age or later, but it should be every day. Every day you wake up, you find yourself married that day. And therefore, like every good beginning, you've got to improve, move upwards. It's a whole new thing. So, whether your marriage is wonderful, mediocre, or painful, it's time to upgrade, to do something to make the marriage a little more noble, a little more significant in your thinking. Give it a little more attention. Make sure it's on the right track, and so on. So, three suggestions that every marriage can use as an upgrade, an improvement, or a way of salvaging the marriage. Number one, of course, is respect. Respectful. To behave respectfully, to speak respectfully, even to think respectfully. For example, does being married to your spouse give you any rights? Do you have any license or privilege that no one else has? Like, for example, you can criticize your husband, you won't tolerate anybody else criticizing him. And why can you criticize your husband? Oh, your husband. That is a loss of respect. It is not a sign of comfort or familiarity or devotion. On the contrary, it cheapens the relationship. Not a good thing. Well, what about the fact that because you're married, you have the right to be intimate? Nobody else does. It's not a right, it's not a privilege. It's got to be seen as a constantly renewed gift. No one has a right to intimacy. Well, let's start at the beginning. A boy takes a girl out on a date. He has a right to be intimate. How about if it's the fourth date Fifth? How many dates does it take? The answer is no amount of dates gives you any rights to intimacy. Well, what about if I put a ring on her finger? Oh, you gain no rights, no privileges. What you gain is a commitment. When you're married, you are committed to intimacy. It's not a right. You can't demand it. I said this once to somebody, and he said, "Oh, I read the laws. In Jewish law, if a woman or a man fail to be intimate on some regular basis, it's grounds for divorce." See, we do have rights. No, that's not a right. That's like a poor man knocking on your door and saying, "Give me my money." You say, "I don't have your money." He says, "I read the law. If a poor man asks for alms, you have to give." I have to give my money. I don't have your money. The fact that I have an obligation or a commitment to God that I would give to the needy means I am responsible to God for this mitzvah, not I have your money. So if I decide not to fulfill my responsibility to God, that's between me and God. You have no rights here. You can't come in and walk off with some money. The same is true with intimacy. A married couple are committed to intimacy, but that commitment comes from God. I don't have the rights. And if I fail in my commitment, yes, you can divorce me. Point is, you can't demand intimacy. So if you're not getting intimacy, the option is divorce. So going back to privileges, feeling entitled, feeling privileged, I can do things and say things and be critical and mean because it's my wife, it's my husband. That's a horrible thought. We don't become privileged. We don't get some kind of a license to make demands of each other, to criticize each other, God forbid, to shame each other in public. There's no such license. On the contrary, the spouse that you have deserves more respect than any stranger or than any other relative. So that's number one. Improve the respect. Speak with a little more thoughtfulness, a little more dignity, elegant. Don't talk down. And it's incredible how people don't realize. Everyone else in the room is cringing from the way this man talks to his wife or the way the wife talks to the husband, and they don't they don't see it. No, I just told her. You didn't just tell her. You really embarrassed her. So we got to pay attention. Make a little bit of an effort. Check it out. What is my respect ratio? Quotient. It can always use a little improvement. The second thing you can do for your marriage is be appreciative. A woman doesn't need compliments as much as she needs appreciation. Women have an innate sense of value. They don't need to be reminded, and they don't need to be told that they are valuable. What they do need is not to be taken for granted. You don't have to compliment your wife for every meal, but you have to be grateful for every meal that she prepares. Expressing appreciation. It's different than expressing admiration. Not that admiration isn't useful and helpful and appreciated, but it's not the same thing. Men need more of a admiration than appreciation. Women need appreciation more than admiration. So if you want to improve your marriage, a simple thing like express appreciation. And that you can appreciate even little things. You don't have to be impressed. It doesn't have to be awesome. Every little thing that your wife does, you got to show appreciation. Sages say women are very sensitive to justice or injustice. They get very hurt by injustice. And taking her for granted is an injustice. Not giving a compliment is not an injustice. Not admiring is not an injustice. But not appreciating just seems downright wrong. And so women are very hurt by that. Want to improve your marriage? Be more be more appreciative and express it more. There are plenty of husbands who appreciate everything their wife does. They just never say it. So express appreciation more often, and it's amazing what that will do to the relationship. Number three, if there is a need for some kind of criticism, some kind of correction, some kind of objection, how do you do it? The problem is that when you think you're right and she's wrong, you become self righteous. When you're right, you feel entitled to do whatever it takes, which of course can't be true. You can't do whatever it takes. That's a dictator. If you want to correct something, if you want to criticize something, it takes some wisdom and some thoughtfulness. So the first thing is don't correct someone in real time. When you see her doing something, saying something, behaving in some way that you find wrong, don't correct it. Don't mention it. Don't react to it on the spot. Let some time go by. Wait till tomorrow. Most people say, oh, by tomorrow I will have forgotten. Well, then that means that you don't really take it seriously. If you forget, fine. Then obviously it's not that important. If it is really important, you won't forget. In fact, you will have had time to think it through. You will have time to choose your words, to find the right expression, the right explanation, and you're much more likely to be effective in your criticism, constructive criticism. Constructive criticism cannot happen at the moment of the misdeed. If you put your wife on the defensive, there's no one home to talk to. All your words, no matter how brilliant, no matter how right, will be wasted. So wait. You don't have to be careful when you're giving compliments, but when you're giving criticism, you got to use your wisdom. First thing is what mentioned before. When you're criticizing, there should be no loss of respect. You're criticized because right is right, and everyone can use a little correction every now and then, not because you've lost respect. Because if you have lost respect, then you're no longer capable of criticizing. You don't have that, you don't have that closeness that would make criticism painless. If you're criticizing like an outsider, like an observer, like a stranger, because you're turned off, when you're turned off, then you cannot criticize. In fact, you can't even give good advice. An example was this couple, the husband, all of a sudden, after many, many years of a peaceful marriage, suddenly is demanding a divorce. Immediate. He can't tolerate her for another day. What happened was that he invested his life savings in some deal and he lost it all. Obviously, he was devastated. His wife, trying to console him, said to him, "Calm down, it's just money." Not bad, huh? Pure wisdom. Great advice. Very mature. When she said that, he he developed a hatred for her that he can't stand her. Wants a divorce immediately. And she's shocked. What? What happened was she did not share his despair. She didn't share his devastation. She was not empathetic because she really didn't care about a loss of money. Because she was not suffering with him, she lost her right to even give advice. I mean, some guy off the street walks over to you and says, "Don't worry about your problems. Nothing, it's no big deal." He he may be very right, but he doesn't have the right to say such things. So when she did that, she was saying the right thing, but as an outsider, as an unsympathetic observer, and that's offensive. So even giving good advice has to be done with some wisdom. If you're going to criticize, it has to be because you're in the marriage, not because you stepped out. You know, when you behave like that, I've got nothing more to say to you. That's not criticism, that's just rejection. In fact, it's an infidelity. Every time you're annoyed by something, you step out of the relationship. Even the expression, "You're not the person I married." Well, what are you saying? That you're no longer married to me? Then who gives you the right to criticize me? So, three things you can do to improve your marriage: be more respectful, genuinely, offer more appreciation, express appreciation. And don't criticize as a reaction. Be thoughtful, be mindful, wait some time, and criticize because you're in the marriage, not because you're turned off to the marriage. These things don't take a lot of time, but they can make a huge difference. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. These ideas, these messages, this approach to life, this approach to Torah, to meaning, and to morals is vital for the world today. And we need to get this message out to the entire world. It is universal, it's essential, it's indispensable. To support this effort, if you want to be a partner in this crime, check out the link and make a donation. It really helps a lot. And thank you in advance.